Theresa May does oppose her bill, and so it's not necessarily just lefties that are in opposition to it. So there are people from her own party, and the bill starts with a statement by the Home Secretary that she's unable to say that its provisions are compatible with the rights in the ECHR. And admission of potential incompatibility with the ECHR is an acknowledgement that the bill could lead to a breach of its international obligations under the ECHR. Now, it's unusual for a British government to declare itself in advance to be open to breaching international law. And so making this type of statement, it's known as a Section 19(1)(b) statement, it does not necessarily evidence a lack of respect for human rights. It just shows that the government is taking the task of assessing the human rights implications of this legislation and considers that there are reasons for considering that it's in the public interest to take the risk of incompatibility. And the purpose of this legislation is to deter illegal migration, but the bill cannot necessarily in practice prevent that. And so one of the ways the government plans to deter illegal migration is by threatening asylum seekers with removal to a safe third country. But agreements must be in place with the safe third country to be able to send the person to that country. And so the bill creates a large number of people potentially having to live in limbo at public expense for an unknown amount of time, which could become very costly for the UK taxpayer. So really, the Home Office needs to put in place agreements for removal with safe third countries to ensure that they're not in breach of their own legislation.
Around the position of children, pregnant women and the like, with Robert Buckland, again another Conservative, expressing concern on that very point on this channel to Camilla Tominey on Sunday.
Yes, so Clause 3 of this bill aims to make the duty to remove discretionary for unaccompanied children until they turn 18. And it would give the Home Secretary power to make other exceptions to the duty as well. And so the protective arrangements intended for all children would effectively be withdrawn for children entering after the 7th of March. And so the bill may undermine legal protections in the Children Act 1989 for unaccompanied migrant children. So that is a concern. That's a concern amongst the left and also the right. A number of provisions in this bill have retrospective effect. And so the government, they did not provide justification for implementing provisions that will apply retrospectively. And retrospective lawmaking may undermine the rule of law as well. And where Parliament has passed legislation knowing that it may be in breach of the Convention, the courts will consider that it has chosen to do so. So as Parliament is sovereign, it will give that due respect, but that will not necessarily stop the courts from finding the Act to be incompatible with the Convention. So it's for Parliament to consider.
Yeah, and look, with all of that in mind, the majority in the Commons last night didn't have a problem with the bill and accepting what Suella Braverman was saying, that the vast majority of Brits are not xenophobic, and going on to state that the vast majority of those people coming across the Channel are economic migrants under the age of 40, predominantly male, which is clearly gaming the system, as she put it.
Yeah, absolutely. There still are many more stages for the bill to go through before it could receive royal assent. But the government does need to implement a new strategy. The Home Office is overwhelmed with the asylum applications. There's a major backlog of these applications, and the current system that's in place is unsustainable. But it's likely that we are going to see this bill being faced with much more backlash and potential legal challenges.